Guys, this is Maria. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will address one of the most frequently asked questions that I get in the comments is how do I get my children to sit down with me and do the activities? How do they stay focused? How do they not run away? So I sat down and prepared 5 main principles that I follow. Also, at the end of this video, I will touch upon a few more things to think about when you're setting up all these activities. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I have 2 kids. I have almost a 3-year-old and almost a 5-year-old. Their birthdays are right around the corner. And I focus a lot on Montessori approach to parenting, open-ended toys, activities. I do not homeschool, but I do lots of homeschooling exercises at home to support the development of children that they get at school. Both of my children attend a Montessori school, and I'm really inspired by the method. So if you are into that kind of content, make sure to click that subscribe button, notifications button, and give this video a like if you like it. Number 1 principle and number 1 key thing to think about is the environment that you are setting up for your children. The environment should encourage learning, should make kids stimulated and want to learn more and want to explore and wonder. So the shelves that are open-ended, that nothing is put away, where they can explore materials on their own terms and encourage learning is number 1 key principle that I follow. And this principle is coming from a Montessori approach because Maria Montessori believed that every child is born with innate curiosity. And having 2 children and raising them for quite a few years now, I can tell you that it's an absolute truth. The kids wonder and they kind of follow in their own direction. They go from one material to another based on their developmental stage. So make sure that the environment that you have for your children is free of electronics, like your playroom or your area where you're trying to work with your children does not have a TV, does not have iPads, does not have any kind of devices that are extremely distracting. Also try to limit bright colors, buttons, and all other materials that are stimulating, but not in a way that you stimulate the curiosity. They're stimulating in the way they stimulate your brain and make it excited. So make it a calm environment full of natural light, full of wooden toys. I've done many videos on how to set up a proper environment, so I will link for them for you below. So my second principle is follow your child, follow their development and their interests. They will give you a key and a cue when they're ready. As an example, right now, baby Justin, without any push from me, got very interested in doing mazes. And by mazes, I mean, the tracing. And it's very age appropriate right now because he is starting to gain this pen control. We worked on his pincer grasp, but many other activities. And now he just gravitates towards all those books. He calls it drawing. He started drawing circles. It's something that is extremely important for them at this very age. As an example, younger children, at about 15 to 18 months, they will be all really into water pouring activities. And don't think about it as a mindless work. It is actually working on concentration for them and also hand-eye coordination. And they are fascinated with water. So doing, like, for example, you have a 15 or 18 months old and you want to work with them on refining their fine motor skills, well, find the activities and incorporate water. Again, it could be Montessori pitcher with a Montessori glass. I filmed multiple videos on that. If you have a child that is trying to count every time they do, count with them. So let them lead you. Don't try to force certain things on them, especially if they're not age appropriate. But you will find your children that they will tell you what in their own way. Like Scarlett started rhyming out of a sudden. They do it at school, but it's also one of those things that is, as she's developing as a pre-reader, she tries to rhyme everything. So within that principle, also look at what they're interested in. So let's say it is time for them to start counting, but they're not showing any interest. Try to interest them with what they like. When baby Justin was learning colors, they were sticking very well for whatever reason, because every kid is different. I used cars and I used dinosaurs. Because that's something he was interested. With Scarlett, when we did all kinds of pattern making, I used princess cupcakes and things of the kind that if they're not interested in the subject, but it's time for them to be on board with that subject, make it relatable. That your child loves doing something that works. And my daughter is a great example. She loves coloring. She likes to be artistic. She likes to do all kinds of things of that nature. So when I do certain work with her, I use it as a leverage, and I say, okay, if you want to do the coloring, if you want to do coloring princesses, which I know she always does, I tell her first we have to do your alphabet. So make sure you keep those activities, whether it is Play-Doh. Oh, do you want to do Play-Doh? Okay, let's count this first. So you can have something that they really want, and it's in a way is bribing, but it's more of a manipulation, and you, after all, are the one that is driving their behavior. And another thing to be mindful of is whether it is developmentally appropriate for your child. It is completely developmentally inappropriate to expect a 2-year-old to sit through a 30-minute lesson. So you have to think about the attention span of your child you're working with. 1-year-olds have a very, very short attention span. So you gotta grab their attention in 10 minutes and it's done. And eventually your 3-4-year-olds are the ones that you can work more with and that you can expect to work on the activity for a certain amount of time, especially if you make it challenging, interesting, and incorporate play. So number 5 on my list, find the appropriate amount of challenge. There is it's like a very interesting balance between things that are too hard or too easy. Both of them will be boring to your children. So if you see that your child is losing interest in the activity, that might be one of the reasons why. So most of the time, if you're trying to introduce something new, you might have introduced it on a level that they're not able to process yet. So break it down. As an example, I have this board from Melissa and Doug. It's Snap and Sort. And when I first started doing it with Scarlett, I would dump all of the packs, all of the colors together, and she would have to pick out and then match them up. It was too complex at the moment when I introduced, so I started pulling out only yellow packs, and then she would be doing only yellow packs, and I would do only red packs. So break down the activities when it is a challenge, but it's not so challenging the child gives up. Also, if you see that it's too easy, they also give up or move on, make it more challenging. Kids like challenge. All right, so now a few things outside of those principles that I wanted to chat about is, so not everything your child, even if you follow all of those things, like set up the environment, follow their lead, and make it fun, there will be certain things that they are just not going to like. It's not going to be their strong pursuit, and we all are like this as people. And here's something that I feel is important, and that's how I approach things. Our job as parents is not only to create an amazing magical experience of childhood, it's also to prepare our children for success in the future. There was a great TED talk, and the lady was saying that actually not the academics are important, especially in the early preschool years. It's the grit, it's the ability to be resilient, it's the ability to go back to your work and finish it, self-control, emotional control. So all of those qualities are even more important than academics at that age. And with that comes something. Some things just have to be done. So sometimes you just have to tell your child that that's what needs to be done. And if the answer is no, I don't want to, then you have to stand your ground as a parent and say, well, we will stay here until this is done. I want to play with the doll. Well, we're going to finish the alphabet. And the longer you take to finish the alphabet, the less time you will have to play with your doll. So explaining to them, motivating them internally and not externally, so they have the desire to finish it. Giving them other options. You can always talk through, especially if you have a 3-4-year-old. They are much more reasonable. And take it as a learning experience. Sometimes as an adult, we have to do things we don't want to do, but we have to do them. Here comes the part on bribing. So again, I said I'm not completely above bribing. I save it for more like a trifle matters per se. Like if I can get somebody in a car seat real fast, I give them extra vitamin or something of that kind. But I would say do not bribe, especially in learning. I've never bribed with potty training, and I will tell you why, because kids start expecting it. So if there are things that have to be done, they have to be done. So bribing with food, with treats is not the answer, just because you're not actually teaching them that it has to be done. So sometimes putting your foot down and saying that that's how it has to be is actually a better way than trying to avoid it and replace it with a pride. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think, if any of those principles would work for you. That's actually what I follow, and that's how I get my kids to sit down and do all kinds of activities with me. And honestly, I just really enjoy it. And that's something that I find very attractive in motherhood, being able to teach my little ones to the best of my abilities, make sure that they're prepared for, their time at school. Again, if you love this kind of content, make sure to subscribe to my channel, give this video a like if you liked it, and I will see you soon.